creaky Victorian. In the snooze-fest town of Puddlewick, the Thompsons lived in a creaky Victorian dump that looked like it was sneezed out by a haunted antique shop. Their attic housed Biscuit, a ghost dog so shaggy he resembled a mop with existential issues. Biscuit had been dead since the 1920s, thanks to a tragic meatball chokeout, and now spent his afterlife protecting the family's kid, Timmy, an 8-year-old chaos gremlin who could attract trouble faster than a cat video goes viral. Timmy's life was a magnet for weird. His action figures did midnight conga lines, his closet giggled like a drunk hyena, and his goldfish, Swim Shady, was bubble wrapping "Save Me" in Morse code. Biscuit, sprawled invisibly on Timmy's bed like a furry fog, sniffed a stench worse than Timmy's unwashed gym shorts, pure, grade A evil. Something was brewing, and it wasn't Timmy's mum's kale smoothies. One night, as thunder shook the house like a toddler with a tambourine, a slimy shadow oozed from Timmy's closet. Meet Gary, a discount demon with googly eyes and a voice like a kazoo in a blender. Gary had flunked Hell's Scare School and was now freelancing as a kid terrorizer to pad his LinkedIn. "I'll make this brat sob for his blankie," he buzzed, slinking toward Timmy's bed. Biscuit wasn't about to let this budget Voldemort ruin his gig. He popped into view, a glowing furball with a bark like a tuba, farting down a slide. Gary screeched, "A ghost dog?" "That's not in my PowerPoint." Biscuit chomped Gary's smoky butt, sending him yeeting back into the closet like a sad piñata. Gary, 0. Biscuit, 1. The next night, Gary rolled up with his posse, 2 imps who smelled like burnt Pop-Tarts and had the IQ of a soggy sponge. Their plan? Spook Timmy with creepy ASMR whispers and flickering TikTok filters. Biscuit, who'd spent the day perfecting his ghost stunts like making the toaster moonwalk, was ready. As the imps crept in, he unleashed a spectral belly flop, blasting the room with a frost fart wind. One imp face-planted into Timmy's Lego Death Star. The other got hog-tied in a curtain, screaming like a Karen who lost her coupon. Gary, peeking from the closet, groaned, "I should have hired interns." Timmy, snoring through the ruckus, dreamed of tacos, but Biscuit knew Gary was dumber than a bag of hammers and twice as persistent. Night 3, Gary went full drama queen, conjuring a vortex of crusty socks and expired yogurt to yoink Timmy's soul. Biscuit, done with this clown, went beast mode. He zoomed around, barking like a possessed bagpipe, and chased Gary into his own portal. For the grand finale, Biscuit yeeted Timmy's most cursed toy, a rubber chicken that screeched like a pterodactyl with laryngitis, into the vortex. The portal, apparently triggered by bad vibes, barfed itself shut, banishing Gary to Hell's DMV line, where he was last heard whining about that furry menace. Morning came, and Puddlewick was chill. Timmy's toys quit their dance party, Swim Shady went back to freestyling bubbles, and the closet smelled like a Yankee candle. Biscuit, smug as a cat in a sunbeam, flopped in the attic, his ghostly tail doing a victory jig. Timmy, still clueless, started leaving dog biscuits by his bed for the vibes. Biscuit couldn't eat them, but gave a spectral high five. Puddlewick's ghost dog was back on patrol, ready for the next meatball or the next idiot demon dumb enough to try him. Woods of Merkville. Deep in the fog-drenched woods of Merkville, where trees hissed rumours and the wind reeked of bad decisions, a pack of ghost dogs ruled the shadows with a law thicker than a witch's stew. These spectral hounds weren't just sniffing around, they were myths on paws. Biscuit, a shaggy meatball martyr from 1923. Duchess, a poodle with a perm like haunted cotton candy. Boomer, a bulldog pancaked by a tractor tire in '59, and Mavis, a dachshund who'd yeeted into eternity chasing a cursed hot dog. Their obsession, chasing Merkville's cocky squirrels into a furry oblivion. The squirrels, led by Nutters McFluff, a rodent mob boss with a smirk twitchier than a caffeinated ferret, were the forest's oligarchs. They hoarded acorns like offshore accounts and flipped off the dogs with taunts like, "Suck my fluff, you glowing mutts." The feud traced back to 1890, when a living Biscuit got punked by Nutter's great-grand squirrel, who'd beamed him with a pine cone mid-snooze. The dog's afterlife pact, sworn in a spectral spit shake, hold the spit because ghosts, was to run every Merkville squirrel into a poetic dirt nap. Extra points for squeals. One stormy night, Nutters crossed the line. He and his goons rigged a tree with an acorn avalanche, dumping a nutty tsunami on Duchess while she was perfecting her ghostly side-eye. The dogs huddled in their haunt, a glowing pit called the Howl Hollow, where even the mushrooms tipped their caps. "Nutters thinks he's untouchable," Biscuit snarled, flicking phantom acorns from his fur. Duchess, curls quivering like angry fog, hissed, "I'll knit that rat-a-tail cozy out of pain." Boomer drooled ectoplasm and grunted. Mavis, still hyped from her hot dog exit, yipped, "Chase time? I'm itching." The mission, make the squirrels regret their life choices. The hunt was pure chaos. Nutters and his crew zipped through the woods, mooning the dogs from branches like tiny anarchists. The ghost dogs were a glowing wrecking crew. Biscuit ghosted through a log, trailing sparkles like a disco ball. Duchess somersaulted over a bog, her screech grounding bats. Boomer ploughed through brambles, giggling like a possessed lawnmower. Mavis slunk under roots, nipping squirrel ankles like a wiener-shaped missile. The squirrels, fur damp with panic, bolted for Grimm's Drop, a cliff they thought they'd outsmart the dogs on. Wrong move. The dog's law boasted the wraith wail, a howl that turned squirrel brains to scrambled eggs. Biscuit unleashed a bark like a foghorn with a vendetta. Duchess layered on a yip that could shatter glass, and Boomer's growl rattled pebbles. Mavis's high-pitched yap sealed the deal. Nutters, eyes spinning like slot machines, botched a leap. His crew, squeaking like a knockoff boy band, followed him over Grimm's Drop, tumbling into a muddy pit, alive but with egos pulverized into squirrel chow. The ghost dogs swaggered back to Howl Hollow, high-fiving with ghostly paws. Nutters, a shell of his former swagger, was last seen gnawing sticks like a sad vegan, his acorn empire toast. The woods fell silent, squirrels trembling at the dog's legend. Biscuit smirked, "Next punk gets chased to Jupiter." Mavis barked, "I call shotgun." Duchess sighed. Boomer farted ectoplasm, but the fireflies spread the tale. Merkville's ghost dogs, forged in meatball, perm, tire, and hot dog, owned the night, their law eternal, their chase unending. The Brutus. In the neon-lit underbelly of Merkville, where alleys smelled of stale tacos and broken dreams, Brutus the police dog was a furry force of nature, a German shepherd with a nose like a bloodhound's GPS, a bark that could shatter glass, and a vendetta against thieves. Brutus owned the city's back streets. His partner, Officer O'Malley, a coffee-addicted human anchor, mainly tripped over his own feet while Brutus ran the show. Their latest mission: bust the Cannoli crew, a gang of thieves dumber than a box of stale donuts, using Brutus's elite training techniques honed in Merkville's toughest K9 boot camp. The Cannoli crew struck at Tony's Pastry Emporium, snatching a cash box, a tray of cannolis, and Tony's lucky rolling pin. Led by Mikey the Sprinkles Caruso, a wannabe gangster with a pompadour, like a bad Elvis impersonator, they fled into the alley maze, cackling, "No dogs catching us." His goons, Vinny Big Belly and Tommy Twitch, tripped over each other, dropping cannoli crumbs. Brutus, lounging in the squad car with his beloved squeaky bagel, sniffed crime and pastry. His ears popped up like radar, and he yanked O'Malley mid-coffee sip into the chase, leaving a caffeine trail. Brutus's first training technique, scent precision, was drilled into him by Sergeant Paws, a grizzled K9 trainer who'd seen more action than a Hollywood stunt dog. Brutus locked onto the crew's trail, cannoli cream, cheap hair gel, and Vinnie's BO through a gauntlet of dumpsters and sketchy karaoke bars. O'Malley dragged along, wheezed, "Brutus, my knees can't handle this." But Brutus was in the zone, his nose filtering out distractions like a furry supercomputer. The crew, thinking they were slick, split up. Mikey took the rolling pin, Vinnie hauled the cash box, and Tommy, stuck with the cannolis, left a crumb trail a toddler could follow. Brutus deployed Technique 2, tactical triangulation, learned during mock chases where he'd outsmarted decoy drones. He targeted Tommy first, using the Thunder Yap, a bark so loud it rattled manhole covers. Tommy, spooked, tripped into a pile of garbage bags, cannolis flying. O'Malley, panting, cuffed him, muttering, "I need a vacation." Vinnie was next. Brutus leaned on Technique 3, obstacle agility, mastered in Merkville's K9 course, a nightmare of tires, tunnels, and fake explosions. He vaulted a dumpster, slalomed through a pile of crates, and cut Vinnie off at a dead end by a graffiti-covered taco truck. Using the stare-down, a psychological trick from his training, Brutus locked eyes, making Vinnie freeze like a deer in headlights. One leap, and Brutus knocked the cash box free, pinning Vinnie. O'Malley, limping up, cuffed him, grumbling, "You're showing me up, dog." Mikey, waving the rolling pin like a budget wizard, climbed a fire escape, yelling, "You'll never take me, Furface." Brutus unleashed Technique 4, dynamic pursuit, perfected in high-speed drills chasing robotic rabbits. He bounded over a trash can, ghosted through a chain-link fence, and launched at Mikey mid-climb. Teeth snagged belt, pants dropped, and Mikey face-planted into a pile of soggy flyers. The rolling pin clattered free. Brutus caught it like a pro. O'Malley, untangling himself from the fence, cuffed Mikey, gasping, "Brutus, you're gonna kill me." By dawn, the cannoli crew was locked up. Tony's rolling pin was back, and Brutus, Merkville's hero, chomped a cannoli reward. The alleys went quiet. Thieves spooked by tales of the unstoppable dog. Brutus, back in the squad car, gnawed his squeaky bagel, ready for the next crook to test his training. Merkville's top dog was unbeatable, his techniques a masterclass in furry justice.